Hello, everybody, and welcome back to an exciting episode of Fanzone Debate. We are here for a contender match. I'm looking forward to it. It is a rematch of a former title match. We got Kirk Kowalkowski going up against Jacoby Bancroft, two former champions. Whoever wins today gets to go play Brian Michaels for the title. So very, very exciting stuff there. Both had to win matches to get here. Kirk had to go up against Cameron Holtzman, beat him in a very close match. And then Jacoby went up against Nazario in also a very close match, both matches ending in 3-2. So really exciting stuff on their way here. I'm looking forward to it. We got Mark and Koho here. Let's start with Mark. Mark, how you doing, my friend? And what do you think of the matchup?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. This should be great. I mean, we got Kirk, who's long time in here. He just mashes everybody's faces. Always puts up good matches. And then Jacoby, I've admitted many times how much I just love Jacoby's style. That he just kind of slyly gets in there and he just kind of puts you in this kind of false insecurity, and then he just kind of bashes you over the head, and when you least expect it. I love his style. But so yeah, like going up against Kirk, I think we should be in for a good one.
Yeah, and Koho, how are you doing, sir, my friend? And are you excited for the match?
I am. I've seen up close and personal what these two guys can do. Both of them have beaten me very badly, and I love them both for it. They're both very fun to watch debates, very fun to play them in debate. I'm excited to see what these two very different styles do against each other tonight. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go talk to the players real quick. We'll start by talking to Jacoby. Jacoby, I say it a lot. I'll say it again. You come in, you look nervous, and then you get into the match and you get fighting. But this one's a little different because the last time you played Kirk, he mailed you a book.
Yes, he did, because of how much we disagreed over the answers. It took me a while to read it, but I did, and it was a delightful book. He was still wrong, completely, just and wholeheartedly, but I appreciate the effort for him to try to teach me this. But no, this is it's versus Kirk. It's going to be a kind of an amazing, hopefully a fun, hopefully very nerve-wracking match. I am nervous. I look nervous. I am nervous. Kirk is, a Titan. Kirk is my arch nemesis, even though he probably doesn't think the same thing about me because he beats like a lot of us here. But hopefully it's a good time, and hopefully what I do works. And I'll say, I always say, like, I want to be calmer in my debates, and then it like never works. So, but like, let's see if I can do that this time. But we'll see what happens. Oh man,
that's fair. Okay, let's bring in Kirk. Kirk, the last time you played Jacoby, you sent him a book.
Yeah. I don't think tonight there's anything egregious on the docket. We'll have that opportunity to be that ignorant and that incorrect and that disrespectful as he was that night. So it should be a little calmer tonight, but we'll see. He may have something up his sleeve. Who knows? I got my water bottle ready to throw if it comes down to that. But no, I love Jacoby. Jacoby is honestly one of my favorite people in the community. I'm always rooting for him, so I hate when I have to play. I like playing him because I like to just hang out and be on a call with him, but I hate playing him because I have to try and beat him, and I don't want to see him lose. I want to see him have a lot of success. So, that's a silver lining. I want to win this and move on, but if I don't, then Jacoby gets to, and that's really cool, and I'll be rooting for him. So yeah, let's have a fun match.
For the record, I'm not rooting for Kirk to win. I just need to make that clear. Like, okay. That's good luck, Kirk.
And thanks, Tim. I really hope I can convince you of some things tonight, because Mark already admitted he's a fan of Jacoby, and Koho just never votes for me anyway. So I'll be leaning heavily.
Don't you already be influencing the jury, Kirk? We haven't started yet. What are you doing? Silence. Mute his mic. Oh, I know I'd never get any votes from these people. Sorry. Like, what's that gonna do?
Oh my god, I love it. Okay, let's do this. Let's get into it. This is how it's going to work. There are 4 prep questions based on categories that the players drafted. They're going to debate those questions tonight before our very souls. So they're each going to get a 1-minute opening, followed by a 1-minute, followed by 5-minute freeform, followed by a 1-minute closing at the end of the debate. Mark, Coho, and I will write on our handy dandy boards who we thought won the debate. 2 out of 3 votes wins you a point. 3 points wins you the match. Gentlemen, any questions before we get into this here contender match?
Nope.
All right, then let's do it. All right, we are going to kick this one off, starting with the first question, which was drafted by Kirk in the category of directors. And your question is, what is the best ending to a Kurosawa film? Kirk, because you drafted this, you get to go first. I never have my stopwatch out when I do this. So you get to go first, Kirk. You have 1 minute when you start talking. I will come in to give you the 10-second warning when the time comes.
Great moments in Kurosawa films are about a couple different things. You have great character moments, you have great story moments, you have great acting, and you have great samurai violence. Those are kind of the components that make a great moment in a Kurosawa movie. So I had to go with the ending, the finale of Sanjuro. This is a movie, the sequel to Yojimbo, that the character returns. He kind of befriends this group of young samurai that he's trying to dissuade from seeing this as a glorious lifestyle. He's kind of over it. He's kind of realizing that he's wasted his life on his violence. He's challenged by the evil samurai Hanbei, who's kind of after him the whole movie. And their final showdown, Sanjuro tries to talk him out of it. He has that. It's a tense, subtle moment where he tries to talk him out of the fight. Doesn't want to kill him. Realizes it's all big waste. But it ends in one of the greatest moments of violence. Great blood spray. Great tender moment before he says goodbye, and it's a great ending.
Great ending. Strike it from the record. Let's go over to Jacoby. Jacoby, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
The best ending to a Kurosawa film is Ikaru. Ikaru is a story about a man who's lived an entire life of bureaucratic nothingness, who's diagnosed with stomach cancer, and throughout the movie decides that before he dies, he's going to accomplish one thing: fight through all the bureaucratic red tape and get a children's park built. The end of the film is beautiful. He succeeds before his death. The park is built. He learns how to live life in his last days, and the neighborhood recognizes him as a hero, and his tenaciousness is inspiring. Lovely ending. But the film adds complexity on top of that. Although he did his good deed, the gigantic bureaucratic structure doesn't change. His inspired and seemingly motivated coworkers eventually revert to their non-helpful and meandering ways. It's bittersweet, but it makes our protagonist's journey and what he accomplished even more impactful. It's a happy ending. It's a sad ending. It's an inspiring ending. It's a tough ending. It's an ending that makes us wonder what we're really living for. And I think that's why this is the best ending of a Kurosawa film ever.
Oh, great. Yeah. All right, guys. 5 minute freeform when one of you starts talking. Don't talk over each other. It'll make me really sad. I will throw up the 1 minute warning when the time comes. If one of you is talking too much, I will throw up the let your opponent talk. Don't make me do it. Nick Twohig is an angry man. He will destroy you in your own home. You don't want it. So 5 minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
I think that you're trying to say it's that ending does all these certain things, but I think it's just one thing. It's down or one note ending where you don't really get that complexity. I think the beautiful ending is you have that complex, bittersweet ending when he's sitting on the swings singing the song. You get everything you just said, but then they kind of undo that by bringing in the other characters and saying, "Oh, we're going to do this," and then immediately just they don't. And I think that kind of undercuts where, oh, he did a thing, but it's really all for naught because no one else is going to do it. And everybody's going to kind of keep the same cycle going that he did.
Kirk, did you watch the movie? It is not a downer one note ending at all. It's actually a lot of different endings at the time because yes, it is sad that these bureaucratic people do go back into their life because that's the actual ending of the movie when they're like, oh no, I don't want to actually make progress anymore. But then the actual ending of the movie is them seeing the park built where all these children are filled with joy playing with their park and they're analyzing the works that this one guy did in order to do everything. It is so worthwhile and so deep and complex between a sad and a happy happy ending. Compared to your movie when it's just like, oh, it's a one-note ending. Your whole argument in the first one was about like, it's a really cool blood spray. It's a great blood spray. Great. That's cool. That's awesome. And I do agree. It's a great blood spray, but it's not a really good ending. You started your thing by saying moments are built like this. And it is a good moment, but it's not a great ending to the movie. Whereas my movie is a culmination of everything that came before to this one, to see the two sides of sad and happiness together. And that's why it's great.
I would say that my ending does have those moments. It has the character moment. You have that moment where he's trying to dissuade and also dissuade his pupils. Don't do this. This doesn't have to happen. You see, Mufini gets such a great performance where you see in his face and his mannerisms, this doesn't have to happen. It doesn't have to end this way. So you have a great ending to that character and to that arc and to that story. And you also have the really cool violence. You say they all see the parks. They don't all see the park. One employee goes back to look at the park after he's already been shut down and shut up by his other coworkers and his supervisor. So this one guy who's we already know is not going to make a difference because he's being bullied in silence is the only one who bothers to go back and look. So we know nothing's going to come from that.
I didn't say they all see. I meant we all see. The audience sees the impact of the park. And the fact that you said like one guy sees it and wonders like he can't make a difference. The whole movie, Kirk, is about how one man can make a difference if he is inspired and willing to do it. That's the whole thing of the movie. Watanabe inspired this new guy in order to go on and continue on forward at everything about that. That's what makes that great compared to your ending where it's just like, yeah, it's complex because like, is he going to draw his sword and fight the guy or not? I'm sorry, Kirk. In a samurai film, I want him to do that. There's no complexity of just like, man, I really hope this guy doesn't draw his sword here. There's nothing to that ending. It's just a sword fight. Whereas my movie actually builds to that moment, and that's great.
There is a subversion there where of course there's going to be a sword fight, even though he's trying to stop it. But you think if the movie is built up to this big fight where you think it's going to be a battle, and even he doesn't think he could win, and then it's just one quick blow, and just the guy drops dead, and you have that great blood fight. And don't underestimate that. The character moment is great. All that stuff is great, but also that great samurai action is something that you need, and it's something that this movie ends with. So it has all those layers. Like you said, the movie is all about this one man being inspired, and then his coworkers are inspired for a moment while they're drunk. And in the cool light of day, they realize, oh, we're never going to do that. So it completely undoes everything that he was going to do. It was up until that moment. Yeah, it's about this great guy. And if they would end with him on the swing singing, would have been a great ending. But it kind of kills it because, it's just going to go on with people doing nothing and pushing off, responsibility, not taking responsibility for their neighborhood. And that's how things are going to go on.
But Kirk, you know who that matters to? You know who the movie shows us it's mattered to? The people in his park who halfway through the movie come and cry at his shrine in order to show how impactful he was to them. And we see it at the very end of the movie where all these kids get to play at the park, get to see and witness what happens when one man can change the difference. That yes, the bureaucratic structure is always going to be hard to break through, no matter what. And change is going to be absolutely hard, but it is possible. And that's such an inspiring ending when you have someone who's motivated and passionate and driven in order to do something to do that. That's so great. And there's nothing to your moment.
That person is gone now, and now we see we're seeing it from his point of view, and he's going to do nothing. My moment, like I said, it's subtle. It's not a big over-the-top emotional, dramatic, overly dramatic moment, but it's subtle. You see him, you see the change in him, you see the characters watching him. After he kills him, you have that moment where they're like, oh, that was amazing. He's like, don't you realize, don't you see why this is nothing? And it's very quietly done. It's framed beautifully, it's shot beautifully, it's all done through camera work and just silent acting, but it's all there. All those moments are in mind, and you have, like I said, you have that great action in it too, and you combine all those things where yours is just a downer moment after a pretty good story.
You said moment about 50,000 times when describing your thing, because that's what yours is. Yours is a moment as compared to mine, which is what the culmination of the movie up to that point where you see 5 minutes before your bureaucratic thing and the one guy became first.
Jacoby, you get to close first. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
A great ending should land because of the groundwork that the movie laid before it. Throughout Ikaru, we see Watanabe's initial boring life, his diagnosis, him learning how to fully live life, his passion and persistence to accomplish just one thing of importance before his death, and his drive to build the park, which he succeeds in. And then we're left with the aftermath. His co-workers are inspired, right? They're going to be different. They're going to use Watanabe as an example, but no, they revert to their old ways. The big machine carries on, and although we're frustrated that on a broad level things aren't different, like Kirk's frustrated that it didn't work out, we see on a tiny scale in this one neighborhood the impact this has on the real people living there, and it changes their world forever. That matters. So even though we're sad that nothing changes, we're happy in this moment, and that's why this is such a beautiful ending. Sanjuro is a sword fight, just as like Kirk's saying, like the subtlety of it is very good when you see like if they're gonna face off, if they're gonna draw, if they're gonna do anything with a great blood spray. That's a moment that's nothing compared to the beauty and complexity of my ending.
Time. Okay, we're gonna move over to Kirk. Kirk, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Jacoby picked a beautiful, complex movie. He did not pick a beautiful and complex ending. The movie ends about 5 minutes before this. His is basically just a little epilogue. His main character is gone, and just watching the non-effect that his life has had on the people around him. My movie ends with my main character still completely involved, my main actor completely involved. And like I said, there are moments. It's a series of fantastic moments. There's great acting in Mifune trying to resist doing this. I never said anything about him like maybe not drawing. There was always going to fight, but the fact that it's just a quick fight instead of something drawn out, just a great explosion of violence, and just him dealing with these pupils of his, and him finally saying goodbye and walking away from them, and that great Yojimbo score kicks in at the end. It's a great moment. It's not melodramatic. It's not over the top like some of the stuff in Jacoby's movies is, but mine is a great ending to a fantastic samurai film with great characters, great acting, great action, combination of all of those.
Time. Okay. Bring in the judges.
I ordered some anyway. They were I got a thing that said they were having a sale. Oh, like 20% off. So I was like, oh yeah. How much money do I need to bring for shakes? Because they're like, just make sure you have money with you. How much money do I need?
Okay. I'm ready. Coho looks ready. Mark, are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Good start. This kind of seemed from the beginning like it was going to be a not necessarily a battle of semantics, but a battle of like Jacoby has the poignant, beautiful, like heartbreaking ending, and Kirk has the cool, dope, actiony, bloody ending. And just kind of different types of movies and different endings. I went with Kirk. I thought that Kirk, just honestly having not seen either of these movies, I thought Kirk's closing was really strong, where he said that Jacoby picked a really like poignant scene that doesn't necessarily like, it doesn't do the rest of the film justice as much. Like the character's not there. Like, yes, there's beautiful moments and stuff, but Jacoby's main attack on Kirk to me felt very like moment, like he kept saying like, you're bringing up the moment or whatever, and Kirk was able to tell me like specific things other than just the blood splatter, like the score, the acting, all the different characters, like the moments beyond just the blood splatter. It worked for me. It felt like the more encompassing ending scene for me. So Mark, where are you going and why?
Again, very good for first out. I think probably on the level we think we're going to get. I did lean Kirk on this one. I feel like when it came down to it, I was just sold a little bit more on kind of what Kirk was pitching on kind of a more not necessarily nuanced, but kind of understated ending of how there's a bunch of things going on in the middle of kind of a 5 minute of almost like a minute samurai showdown of how this is a good culmination of the movie. It's a good culmination of a character arc and kind of what more or less what the themes that are going on. And it's not necessarily I feel like Jacoby did a bad job of doing that. I thought he did. I think I just sold a little bit more on Kirk. He probably also had a few decent hits on him. So yeah, I just ended up leaning Kirk there.
All right, Coho, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
Well, I would have gone with Jacoby. I thought that Jacoby did a better job of explaining to me exactly all the elements of his ending and why they tie better and are more pertained to the film that I saw going ahead of that ending. I think Kirk really pitched me a really cool sequence and a well-made sequence, but I think Jacoby gave me a little bit more about why his ending fit better for his movie.
That's fair. Kirk, now that it's over, do you still think yours is better?
Oh, I think they're both great.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, they're both really good.
Yeah.
I thought that was a fun type of question for this category. But all right, we're going to get into the next question, which was drafted by Jacoby in the category of the MCU. Your question is, which phase 1 through 3 MCU character that doesn't have a solo movie should have their own solo movie? Jacoby, you're kicking this off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
I think the MCU should do a solo Vulture villain movie. Look, the MCU, I think it needs to mix things up a bit, and I think they can do that in 2 ways. One, I think we need more street-level stories after a bunch of cosmic and multiverse adventures. Spider-Man No Way Home teased a more grounded street-level movie at the end, but by all recent accounts, we're backtracking on that to do another multiversal story in Spider-Man 4. Bummer. And 2, I really think it's time to do an actual villain movie. No, not an anti-hero movie like Thunderbolts or even like Guardians of the Galaxy to an extent where the heroes are clearly all good guys at the end of the day to save the world, but I want a movie about an actual selfish villain who is out for themselves and wants personal gain. Adrian Toomes is perfect for this because he's already a well-defined villain character and can be the perfect surrogate through the MCU's New York City underbelly, where we could see all the street-level villains and even heroes that we wouldn't normally see in this sort of MCU now. It would be a fantastic change for the MCU with a great character and shift the concept of what an MCU movie can be, which at this stage I think we need.
Time. Okay, let's go over to Kirk. Kirk, you have 1 minute to open when you start talking.
Went a little bit out of the box in this one. I picked Howard the Duck, who has a cameo in, I think, the first Guardians movie, or maybe the second. I don't know. Maybe both. Anyway, he is a character who, yes, had a failed movie 40 years ago when they didn't know how to do comic book characters right, but I think now is the perfect time to bring him back. He is a character. He is a man out of time, without his own world, without his own planet. He's a private eye. He's cynical. He's kind of over it. And the cool thing about him is he has connections to a lot of different parts of the the Marvel universe. He in the comics, he's very comfortable in the magic world. In the movies, he's obviously established in the cosmic setting. He even does things like the street level stuff with Spider-Man teaming up, things like that. So I think it'd be really fun like that to take this kind of silly satirical character who's kind of just over it, and use him to explore these different nooks and crannies of the MCU that we haven't seen yet, or maybe haven't delved too deep into yet. I think it's a great character and a great sandbox to play in.
Okay. All right. So we got Vulture versus Howard the Duck. That was a weird thing to say. 5 minute freeform when one of you starts.
I think Howard the Duck is a terrible choice for a solo movie. An animated TV show, maybe. All your individual separate stories that you pitch, I think would be a great serialized sort of different adventures for them. But a whole movie of Seth Green, Howard the Duck, doing duck voice, trying to get women to sleep with him like he did in all the movies that he was in that you don't remember that he was in, him doing quack foo, I think that would be awful. He's a cosmic character in the MCU, and we have too many cosmic characters right now. Guardians trilogy has the weird covered. We tried super silly with Thor Love and Thunder. Didn't really work, and that's the tone that one is sort of aiming for. And Eternals showed us that let's slow down cosmic adventures. I think we need more grounded. We need something more realistic. We need to show a side that's actually not super shown in the MCU right now, and you can do that through a great character with Adrian Toomes as Vulture.
I think my character can do the ground level stuff as he does in the comics. I say he doesn't just do cosmic. He's very involved in like the mystical corners of the world with Man Thing and all those things. So he can play all those. And I'm not sure you're talking about Seth Green doing a duck voice. He doesn't do a duck voice. I think Seth Green's okay. I mean, MCU took the fat guy from Parks and Rec and made him an action hero. So I think they can work with Seth Green. I don't think he's that same kind of comedy we're talking about. Like I said, he's a more cynical, kind of like a little more edgier, darker character. And like I said, we can use him. It'll be comedy, it'll be satirical, but it'll also be exploring a lot of cool places. We can go street level, and yeah, it would be a great TV show or a movie. I think it'd be a great something. I don't even think yours would be a good movie or TV show. You say he's a villain out for himself. He's established the man who's doing this for his family. So you don't want a sympathetic villain. You've picked one of the most sympathetic villains.
No, but you see, that's the thing. The Vulture was a thief who wanted money for his family, but now his family is gone and he's left him, and now he's a wanted criminal. A movie about that would explore not his path to like redemption, but his further descent into villainy. He's a smart thief, but he's also one who always wants revenge on the people who have wronged him, and he has like this massive ego. We would essentially get like a Walter White arc, but with street level Marvel MCU villains, and that's something totally different for the MCU. We can see him interact with the great aspects of it. Like Scorpion could come back. Tombstone. I know you love Tombstone, Kirk. This is the type of movie where the Vulture could actually thrive in and see, because we can see an underrepresented part of it. Howard the Duck, you said, like, yeah, he can't go mystical, he can't go cosmic, he can't go all this. He even can't do like down to earth stuff. But that's the thing, we do have all of those already, and it's through a character that's sassy and smart and smarmy and tries to get women to sleep with him in this sort of thing. Like, once you go duck, you're never out of luck or whatever something. He says that he's a goofy character. I want the MCU to do something different to it, and you have a great character in order to do that with Adrian Toomes, because now he's lost anything, and we're going to see him descend even farther down, and that's something radically different for what we got going, and sees a great side of the MCU.
So you're pitching me Breaking Bad with like Stark Tech and MCU references. I'll just watch Breaking Bad. Thank you very much. I don't need that. Like you're pitching diminishing returns. This is something we've seen done better, and now we're just going to slap a sheen of MCU paint over it and say, "Hey, look, it's kind of like that." Where mine is, I mean, like I said, I'm not going anywhere we haven't been surface level, but this guy can go deep. This character can go deep, and he can go places we haven't been. Like I said, having somebody like this, a character who's just kind of over it, like, oh, this is just another day at the office, and having to explore those corners of the universe we haven't seen yet or haven't gone too deep in, I think will be a lot of fun.
You're right, because what the MCU is, it's new towards that, is a character who's smarmy and sassy and who thinks like he's over it and likes to joke about things. That's something we've never seen before. And same with like, like Breaking Bad, but in the MCU, it's like, I'll just watch Breaking Bad. But the great thing about is taking these stories and showing them in a different MCU light. That MCU sheen that you're talking about is an interesting entry point to tell more interesting stories on a street level aspect. You say like, why would we retread all these things we've done before on a different show? Well, you're Howard the Duck character is retreading Thor Love and Thunder, Thor Ragnarok, Doctor Strange, even Eternals, Guardians of the Galaxy. All of those things, we've seen the elements of what a Howard the Duck movie can be. And Adrian Toomes is a great, fantastic central character to this, because he's a man who's lost anything, and he can be an actual villain to this, and we can see him evolve as a villain and rise up to be like a better villain than even from where he started. That's an interesting journey for a new type of character than we've seen in the MCU. That's why he should have his own solo movie, because he can do something interesting character-wise, more so than Howard the Duck can.
You're saying that MCU is weird. I've been reading Marvel comics my whole life. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has not scratched the surface on the weirdness yet. There is so much more to delve and explore there, and so much fun stuff to look at. And it'd be so much fun to have this character come in, who is a character who I'm used to this. I just know this thing. Like, oh, it's Man Thing. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Would be so much fun and so interesting.
Never seen that before.
All right, Kirk, we are going to close with you first. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Jacoby is pitching Breaking Bad with an occasional reference to Tony Stark. That's what we're going to get out of this show. Or this movie. I mean, it doesn't feel cinematic at all. That's the other thing. He wants to do it with a character that we've already become attached to. A, because he's been established as a family man, and yeah, his family's gone. What else is he going to do to get his family back? And B, because of Michael Keaton, people are going to be just affectionately connected to Michael Keaton. And how many times have we seen Michael Keaton play the old comic book character, if you want to talk about things we've seen over and over again? He's saying that this is unoriginal. There's so many more places to go in the Marvel comics, so much more in the source material that we can use, and use Howard the Duck, who is a new different type of character, because like I said, he's used to this. This is something that's mundane to him, and I think it's, like I said, I think it'd be interesting to take his character who knows these things, who knows all these characters, all these weird, supernatural characters, but also Spider-Man on a first name basis, and really see what his life is like, explore his world, and see that world through his eyes.
Time. Okay. We're going to move over to Jacoby. Jacoby, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Kirk's knock is that I'm saying that it's Breaking Bad, but in the MCU. But I actually think that's a great starting point for a movie, don't you not? Why would you not want to have Breaking Bad in the MCU? Because Breaking Bad shows us that you have a character arc that goes from like a kind of a good guy to a villain. So Michael Keaton's Vulture started out as a sort of sympathetic bad guy, but I want to see him go deeper into and embrace his full villainy. And we have not seen that in the MCU before. We don't need more like Eternals, Thor, Love and Thunder, Guardian style cosmic adventures, Doctor Strange, mystical adventures, because we've been there before all the time. We need something new, new not only story-wise, but character-wise as well. The MCU has not focused on the street-level villains of Marvel enough. And by making a movie about an actual villain interacting with other villains who wants to become an even greater villain than what he did before, you have the chance to do something fresh and exciting. Plus, we know that Keaton can bring it as the Vulture. He's a great character. He's a complex character. He's the man who has lost everything to it. Howard the Duck is kind of annoying. He's strange and he's weird, and the MCU already has all of that before and covered before. Give Vulture a shot to do something different and new in the MCU.
In the MCU. Strike it from the record. Okay. Let's bring in the judges. Coho, are you blessed?
Feeling blessed. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Never stressed.
Just want to make sure.
Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Your board is covering it, but I just wanted to make sure you were blessed.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Blessed.
I am feeling blessed.
He's a big Brian Blessed fan.
Of course.
Okay. Coho, your vote did not count last time, so you're kicking this one off.
I went with Jacoby. I think that Jacoby did a really good job of explaining why Breaking Bad in the MCU is not a bad thing, and giving us something really different. I think he really hammered why Howard the Duck feels a lot like things we already have, whereas we don't have anything like a Vulture movie, and really showed me what that could be. So I went with Jacoby.
Okay. This was weird. I'm not going to bury the lead because I feel weird about it, but I went with Kirk. And here's why. I think this was much closer than it would seem on paper given the options. I like Jacoby's pitch a lot, and everything Jacoby said pro his movie, I'm game for. I thought that Kirk also gave an interesting pitch for Howard the Duck that I certainly would never have thought of, and supported it. And I don't think Jacoby's takedowns of Howard the Duck were super strong, but I thought Jacoby's, like, they both kind of did the well, we've seen your thing before, your thing is a retread. But I thought that Kirk was able to better explain why his would be different than the Thor, Love and Thunders and Eternals and stuff versus Vulture. But it was really, really close. Like I always feel bad in these high stakes matches when I don't vote for someone. So Mark, am I crazy?
Maybe a little. I did go with Jacoby.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, listen, going with Howard the Duck, bold choice, we'll say. I think I heard you, but I feel like everything that Jacoby said, I think made sense. I also liked it a lot more. I feel like it kind of going Breaking Bad in the MCU. Like, I don't know why is that a bad thing. I thought honestly that was just a good answer, to at least when Kirk brought that up. And also that too, I feel like almost every thing that Kirk threw at Jacoby was able to answer for and kind of slither out of. So I just like I was kind of like there was no reason to not go with Jacoby on this one, because I feel like Jacoby just kind of he defended it pretty well, and it just feel like his pitch for Toombs of doing a villain movie in the MCU like would sound cool.
All right, awesome. So we are all tied up 1-1. We are going to get into the next question, which was drafted by Kirk in the category of Planet of the Apes or creature features. That's not a Planet of the Apes, not a category anymore. Fuck it. Your question is, which OG Planet of the Apes series scene is the most intense to watch? Kirk, you drafted this, so you're kicking it off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
So I picked for this is Taylor's escape attempt when he's captured by the apes towards the beginning of the movie. I picked this because this is such an intense scene, because not only for Taylor, but for us as well, because he and us both are learning exactly how deep this rabbit hole goes, exactly what the Planet of the Apes is. As he escapes and he runs, and it's a great action scene, a great chase scene, where he's going through and he's as he's escaping, we're discovering what this world encompasses. He's not just captured by this group of aliens. We start to slowly realize that in this scene that he is the alien. There's some great direction, great music by Jerry Goldsmith. It really lends itself to just like the unnervingness of this, the otherworldliness of it. As he goes through, there's slow moments and quiet moments, but even those, they're intense because you're learning things about this world and exactly what it is and how much trouble Taylor's really in. So I think it's a great introduction to the Planet of the Apes, what it is, and it's very intense.
Okay. Just a disclaimer, I hit the wrong button when Kirk started, so he probably got like 2 to 3 extra seconds. So Jacoby, I'm going to give you a few extra seconds as well.
It's going to throw all my timing off, but that's fine.
Jacoby, 1 minute and a few extra seconds when you start talking.
At the end of Conquest, the world is burning down. The revolution has begun. There's chaos, pandemonium, hundreds of apes screaming, and there Caesar stands on the wreckage of everything. The fate of humanity is in his hands. We are about to cross the point of no return. Breck and other humans are at the apes' mercy. McDonald is begging Caesar to not give in to his brutality, but Caesar's bloodlust takes control of him. In a fit of rage, he explodes, barking that Caesar and his other oppressed apes will rise up to destroy, burn down, capture, eradicate, stomp out, and replace all of humanity. It's Roddy McDowall at his best. There's a pause. There's buildup. There's anticipation from the audience and from the apes themselves as we wait for Caesar to give the final call to murder the humans. Intensity is building. Lisa at the last second says no, and Caesar snaps back to normal and calms down. But man, what an ending. It's the most intense scene in the OG Apes films, thanks to performance, the atmosphere, the build, and the pivotal turning point in the birth of the Planet of the Apes.
Time. Okay. Ape stuff. Guys, 5 minutes when one of you starts.
I'd say for a reverse shot, political debate, it might be kind of intense. You're really overselling how intense that moment is when he pauses briefly and looks at the girl and then just says, "Okay, we're not going to do that." There's really no intensity to that at all. It's a very the action, the revolution has happened. It's like it's for all intents and purposes that moment is over. And it just, okay, how is this going to go? We know how it's going to end. Is Caesar going to kill this guy or not? That's really the only thing. And it's not that intense at all. My scene is I'll let you talk, but basically my scene is the beginning where we don't know anything and we're learning, and it's tense because, oh my God, we have this Planet of the Apes. Your scene, we're 4 movies in, we know everything, and there's
What
really
are
not that much.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Not intensity. The world is on fire. Apes with guns are threatening to murder the humans right there, and they're waiting for their leader in front of them to give the word of whether or not to do that. And Caesar, who's by at that point was very small and kind of collected and on his way to become the leader of Caesar, is angry. He's furious. He's shouting. He's going to wipe out all of humanity. That's intense right there. I don't even know what's really intense about your scene. It's pretty comical. It includes scenes of apes throwing like fruit at a potato sack wearing Taylor, which is kind of funny. And then it has my favorite funny moment that's laugh out loud funny, where the apes are standing on the bridge and they throw a large net on him. It always makes me laugh when someone's like throwing a net onto somebody, because that's hilarious.
Can I explain
that's
to you why
not intense at all?
Can I tell you why the fruit is intense? Because the people throwing the suit at him, they're not soldiers, they're not warriors. These are just normal citizens who are terrified of this thing that's come out and is attacking them. And this is the moment we realize this truly is a Planet of the Apes, and it's not Taylor versus this army, or it's not Taylor versus this one group. It's Taylor versus a civilization, and that's why that scene is intense and why that's scary. We're learning for the first point we're learning from this point here exactly what he's up against. Your scene, I mean, we know beginning of your movie. Okay, you talked a lot, Jacoby. I won't talk yet. We're going to with your scene. Your movie, we know, okay, we've been to the future, humans are subjugated by apes. Beginning of this movie, humans subjugate the apes. So we know that's going to reverse. So there's no surprise or shock. You're seeing the big blow-up scene you're talking about. The big blow-up scene you're talking about is a relief.
You're still talking, Kirk. Where is the tension that makes your scene intense? Are you afraid your main character is going to be killed? No, you're just wandering around. Yeah, there are apes there on the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, that's, I guess, kind of scary, as you would say, but it's not intense, because in my scene where there's fire and brimstone and death and guns and an ape actually standing over a human, questioning whether or not we are going to execute these humans and give in to their bloodlust here. That's what makes this intense, because the fire and the passion and the rage that these characters do them. Destruction is raining down all around them in my scene, and it builds up, and it does everything it needs to in order to build intensity. While your scene is Taylor running around in a potato sack, where it's you said let me explain why the fruit is intense. That's a silly statement, Kirk. Fruit is not intense. They're beaming him with rotten fruit. That's funny. They're capturing him with a net. That's funny. There's just these civilians walking around. Where my movies with these apes are the ones with the guns going to wipe out all of humanity.
Yeah, we knew exactly what happened the entire movie. We knew that's what was going to happen, because
that doesn't make it any less intense.
Okay, we want to see that uprising. We know what's going to happen. But by the time we get to your scene, we want to see Breck killed. We hate Breck. We know that's
but the intensity is seeing Caesar's rise to it, and his passion and the fire that
he's already risen in your scene.
That the passion, the fire within Caesar has risen up to that point and has reached a boiling point, and the rage and the intensity and the passion within him is exploding out, and he wants to wipe out all rotten humans.
All the adjectives you want. Throw out all the adjectives you want.
That's what I'm showing you. What are the adjectives?
It's a shot, reverse shot, conversation. And then he makes a decision based on that conversation.
Yes, but the performance behind that with the fire. Hold on, Kirk. Jesus Christ. Yes, it's shot and shot, reverse shot. That's fine. But Roddy McDowall's performance in that, as it builds and his passion, and he's screaming, and they're going to execute the humans, and that there's rubble and fire, and mankind is on the brink of extinction forever, of whether they're going to be subjugated and murdered and executed, or let live in that moment. There's an intensity and a passion and a fire to that. Whereas you're I think you're talking a whole lot to dance around the fact that Taylor is running around versus some civilian monkeys in suits throwing things. There's no intensity in that, because there's no drama. You'd say are they going to win? Yeah, they're going to win. Oh, what's going to happen to Taylor? Is he going to die in that scene? No, he's not going to die. So there is no tension there. It's an interesting scene because we see the world, but there's no intensity in it. It lacks any sort of drama or stakes or anything remotely.
You're learning that, oh my God, this isn't just a small. There's nowhere for him to go. You're learning that there's nowhere for him to go. He's stuck on this entire civilization that is against him now. And that's where the intensity comes from.
Yeah, and they'll throw some fruit and throw a big net on him. That's really oh
my God, that was amazing. Okay, Jacoby, you are closing first. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Let me take a drink of water first. Jesus Christ. Okay, hold on 1 second. All right. My scene is the most intense, and it's not even close. Caesar is like standing on the ashes and like the rubble of humanity, ready to strike the final nail that will wipe out humans forever as the world burns and crumbles all around him. We see Caesar just snap and howl and is practically foaming at the mouth as he describes how humanity is going to be like squashed and beaten and betrayed and ultimately destroyed. Kirk's big knock against is like because it's shot or two shot. But that's what shows how effective my scene is, because Roddy McDowall is so good in that scene that you see the intensity build, and we don't know whether he's going to listen to like McDonald, who's pleading him to find another way against his bloodlust, but the bloodlust just keeps rising and rising. It's really well done compared to Kirk's scene, where it's like not really intense. It's hard to even like fight against the intensity because there is no intensity in it. Like he's running around the scene, and like, yeah, we as an audience are seeing a bunch of these apes here like going around, but it's kind of kooky. It's kind of fun. We are seeing how this world interacts, and it's goofy, and I think it's supposed to be, and Kirk might know that. My scene is way more intense.
Okay, Kirk, you get to close. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Jacoby is seen as a conversation that Roddy McDowall is having in front of a bunch of apes with really bad masks, and he makes a decision based on conversation. He's trying to hype it up, and he's talking really loud. He's using a lot of adjectives, but that's all his scene is a conversation. It's a political debate. That's all it is. My scene, like I said, it's an action scene. It's a chase scene. It's where you see, but again, it's him being chased. Can he get away? Is he going to be away? He thinks he can escape this, and you realize the intensity is how deep this is. He cannot escape. He cannot get away from this. Like I said, we're 4 movies deep in Jacoby's movie. You know exactly what's going on. In my scene and in my movie, we're just learning. We are discovering what this is, and that's where the intensity roots from, is learning what this world is, and how trapped Taylor is in this, and how Taylor is now the other. Taylor is now the alien. He's the one that is to be hunted, and this entire society is against him. That's where intensity is, learning that, going from just being captured by army to be against the entire world.
Okay. Oh, that was great. Oh man, that was what I came for.
I thought after the first question, I'm like, we're going to be pretty civil tonight. It's going to be a nice back and forth.
Oh man, I love it when you guys get passionate about shit. It's so fun. Oh man.
I don't know. It's just, it doesn't go through, and yours is probably similar because it doesn't go through, it's going straight through you.
Okay, sorry.
Mine and
I believe we're starting with Mark on this one.
process.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this was a good one. I did enjoy this. There's a lot of bickering, but that definitely fun to watch here for this one. I did go with Jacoby this point. I feel like when Kirk is, I think, trying to sell me on like, well, it's just kind of a conversation or political debate or whatever, kind of how he's trying to kind of hurt Jacoby's scene. I think even if I think of Jacoby's scene as just a couple people talking, it still sounds more intense, at least the way he sold it, more than like a Taylor or like a Charlton Heston just being chased around Ape Town. Like it just, I didn't really feel how like this was like how this was kind of like this big tense moment. I feel like everything that was going on in Jacoby's scene, how this is just this culmination. Apes are taking over, and we don't know if anybody's going to live or die. Like it felt like there was more stuff that was going to happen, like in Jacoby's scene, which why I went with it.
Okay, Coho, which I muted you, so you might have to unmute. Yeah.
There we go. I went with Kirk. I think that Kirk did a better job of taking down Jacoby's scene for me while explaining, like kind of countering Jacoby's very loud attacks. I think Kirk did a very good job of kind of sidestepping and refocusing it a little bit. So,
Okay. So I originally had both people's names on my board because I wrote a bit of a joke answer, but then I realized that if I did that, whoever I didn't give the point to would be like, but my name is also on the board. So I erased it and I wrote Kirk again. Sorry to the other player. I originally wrote sorry, Jacoby. I agree with Coho. I was on Jacoby's side. I don't think Jacoby necessarily did anything wrong. I think that, I think his attack of Kirk's scene was spot on, and I think I love Jacoby's scene. It's honestly probably one of my favorite moments in the entire series. Like, I really love Conquest. I'm a weirdo like that, but I thought that Kirk's takedown, the political, especially also we are 4 movies in. Like, if you don't know what's going to happen at the end of this, you are an idiot type of thing. So how can it be intense? That really worked for me. And I thought that, yes, Jacoby played, I thought Jacoby played the attack against Kirk well by kind of making light of the fruit line of when Jacoby was like, that's a funny thing to say, Kirk, was very good. But I did think that Kirk was able to tell me in the context of the movie and when you're watching it, why that scene is so intense. And Jacoby didn't necessarily, again, I think he played it correctly, but I wasn't totally convinced that it was the goofy scene that Jacoby was making it out to be. So that is why I went with Kirk. And that means Kirk is up 2-1 as we go into the final question of the prep round. This was in the category of coming of age and drafted by Jacoby. The question is, which coming of age film should be seen by more people? Jacoby, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
I think it's going to be the hardest question to argue. I think Dope is the coming of age movie that should be seen by more people. It's about a self-described black geek who essentially is put in a tough situation where he has to sell drugs in order to help secure a spot at Harvard. He uses his geek smarts to do things a little differently and meets one of the best cast of characters along the way. Throughout, he's challenged by the typical coming of age tropes of figuring out what type of person he is and wants to be in the future, but it does have a unique twist. I think this is the best coming of age movie of the 2010s because it takes a very traditional coming of age story, but freshens it up by reframing it around a very different perspective that we don't see enough of in these coming of age movies. It's smart, it's clever, it's fun, funny, and dynamic with great music, and does the nostalgia aspect of the 90s better than any other coming of age movie. It's the type of coming of age movie that people who love this genre should see. It tells an important story with great coming of age elements, but wrapped up in a slightly different framework, and I think it works tremendously well.
Okay, we're going to go over to Kirk. Kirk, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
When you talk about a movie that needs to be seen more, I think there's 2 reasons why. Because A, it's a very good movie that deserves to be seen, and B, because it has something different and unique to say that most movies in the genre don't. And for both those reasons, I picked City of God. City of God is, considered by people who've seen it to be one of the greatest movies ever. It's very highly rated on Letterboxd, IMDb. And it just the direction, the cinematography, the editing, the acting, it's just a beautifully made movie and just very uniquely made, very different looking movie, different feeling movie than you get typically in the genre. Secondly, it has a very different perspective. It takes place in the slums of Brazil. So when it comes to the coming of age genre, it's something that you would almost never see in this, where it's very much a life and death. It's not just a lot of the tropes that Jacoby mentioned, where I got to get to college, I got to get a girl, go to prom, blah, blah, blah. It's just everyday life and death trying to survive in this city while you're coming of age. And I think that's a very unique perspective that should be seen. Also, the fact it's a foreign language film, more people need to watch foreign language films. So for all those reasons, this is the one that needs to be seen the most. Or more.
Time. Okay. So 5 minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
So I think City of God is powerful and gripping and just a fantastic movie, but I do think this is a bad pick to answer this specific question. It's not the best coming of age film for everyone, and more people might reject it than it's like relentless portrayal of graphic violence and extreme assaults that I can't even I'm not even allowed to go into detail on this debate, but specifically third, I think all that violence and all that extremeness of that movie overshadows the actual coming of age journey of Rocket, the main character of City of God. Whereas mine is more digestible and fun. And yes, as you said, like, yeah, it's a classic coming of age tropes, but mine does that with a different perspective of Inglewood, California, of a kid growing up in that place and doing things. And that's what more people should see mine.
I think the violence is necessary to be seen because it's realistic. That's the realism of the life these people are leading. And I think Rocket never gets lost. I think the focus always stays on Rocket and his life and what he's going through. But that violence, although it's hard to digest, sometimes you need to watch hard to digest movies. It can't all just be fun. Hey, we're going to prom kind of movies. Your movie, you talked about tropes. Your movie has every trope. It's bullies versus jocks. It's the virgin trying to lose her virginity. It's the go they shoe in horn into prom. It's who am I? I got to figure out. I got to go to college. It's all these tropes, and it doesn't do. There's no movie. Your movie doesn't check any boxes that isn't checked by a better coming of age movie somewhere else.
Okay, so I'm not denying that yours is an important film, but if I was suggesting a coming of age movie that a lot of people might not have seen but should see, I couldn't suggest City of God without being like, but you have to be comfortable watching the most extreme child on child violence you might ever see, nonstop mover and like violence, and it's like it's compelling but lacks any hope or true optimism or anything. And I would suggest Dope instead, which does have an important message, does have more hope, and could essentially be a better like gateway coming of age movie to other things. Yes, I agree with you, Kirk, that mine does have all those tropes about that. Going to prom, what happens afterwards, trying to get a girl, all that stuff are in my movie. But the reason my movie is so great is because it does it through the Black perspective of someone growing up in Inglewood, which these movies don't typically focus on in order to do that. So all those normal tropes that you see are upended and upeviled, and everything sort of is different through the lens of Malcolm while he goes through this. And that's just a better movie that more people should see in order to, like, if they like coming of age movies.
You're arguing what movie can people handle? I'm arguing a movie they should see, maybe challenge themselves, watch something a little more difficult, a little more important, has something better to say. You're talking about growing up in Inglewood. I can't talk about the experience, but I think a lot of this movie, the point of this character, Malcolm's character, is that he's kind of removed from this. Like, he's not in that world as much. The gang violence of Inglewood in this movie is made out to be a joke. There's a no-name character at the beginning who's killed in gang violence, and they make a joke about how he almost lost a video game, or he almost beat a video game before he was killed, and then the characters try to manipulate his mother into giving away his comic book collection. You never feel the violence or the danger, those things in this world that you expect in a movie like Boys in the Hood, where you would get that more realistically. I think, like you say, you don't suggest my movie because it's hard to handle. I wouldn't suggest your movie because there's so many better movies that do all these things better.
See, but I don't think so, because it's not quite a movie that does it with the humor, the heart, the music, the sound, the score, the direction that Dope does in order to bring it to the next level of 2010s of coming of age films overall. I would recommend your movie to a fancy film class and everything, because I do think everyone should see this at some point. But the problem of coming of age movies is that, like, I never really feel like this is a coming of age movie. This is a world sort of movie. This is how we address urban poverty in different countries and everything like that. And that's fine. It's a fantastic movie for that, but that's hard to say to people. And like, people should be able to handle the movies. I don't think you should say, like, you should watch this movie in order to do that, because it's so hard to watch, even though you might be uncomfortable watching this. You should watch this. I think you should watch a coming of age movie that you are going to like, that you are going to see, and you are negating the fact that that Dope does deal with all these issues, but does so in a very complex way by placing it in the United States. There's a scene in Dope where they talk about, like, the terrorists overseas, but they fact, like, once all the terrorists are gone, they're going to focus on us. And the fact that Malcolm walks these two lines between not being like part of the gangs and being his geeky self is the driving point of the movie, which is what makes a classic coming of age trope more interesting and more digestible, and should be able to be seen by more audiences.
The conversation you talked about was like 2 seconds long. That isn't anywhere focused in the movie, but I mean,
but it's a part of the movie.
Like you said, it's set in America.
Point of the movie.
It's set in America, just like every other coming of age movie. You said this movie does it with humor and heart. So you can watch Risky Business. You can watch Girl Next Door. They do this. Your movie literally ends with the Breakfast Club "Who Am I" essay. I mean, it hits every single trope. There's nothing here. It tacks on the racism message, which is completely unearned because it barely touches on that throughout the movie. But But like I said, there's so many things here. Other movie, if people want to watch your movie, I could suggest a million others. People want City of God. That's all they got.
I think you're wrong.
All right, Kirk, you get to close first. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Jacoby said himself, I quote, just a few seconds ago, everyone should see this movie talking about City of God. I'm sorry, Jacoby. I can't say the same thing about Dope. Dope is a run of the mill. It's fine. But it hits all those same tropes. It does what Risky Business does what Girl Next Door does. It tackles identity like Breakfast Club. Sure, it's the unique aspect of living in Inglewood, but Inglewood is watered down here. It's played up as a joke. It's put for laughs. There's a gangster chasing them throughout the movie, who's comedic. He buys. He's walked around eating out of a pink box of donuts because he's supposed to be funny and watered down. There's no real feeling of danger or stress or tension throughout this movie, even as they go through their business world and their work. It played for laughs. It's comedy, just like any other movie. My film, like I said, it's important. It's serious. It is a coming of age story told in this story. It's not about, like I told you, Kobe, it's not about what movie can they handle. It's what should they see. People should challenge themselves and see this movie. Dope's not a challenge.
Okay. We're going to go over to Jacoby. Jacoby, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I think people should be seeing movies that challenge them, but doesn't alienate them, especially when it comes to coming of age movies. In his closing, Kirk was saying, like, my movie, Dope, doesn't have danger, doesn't have stress, doesn't have tension. I'm sorry that a coming of age movie does not have those sort of things. But I think a good coming of age movie is about identity and sense of self. And that's why I think my movie portrays that beautifully. Kirk is saying, like, oh, you could just watch Risky Business, Girl Next Door, Breakfast Club because it copies all of those things. But it doesn't, Kirk, because it does through the Black perspective. And it reframes all of those into a new way that people who love those movies, Risky Business, Girl Next Door, and like Breakfast Club and all those things, can see those differently because it's somebody going through a different experience. Yes, I'm sorry, my movie doesn't have gang violence heightened up to everything, but it still portrays it beautifully where Malcolm is walking this line between the gangster that the world kind of expects him to be, but his own geeky self. And that's the true coming of age movie through a different way. City of God, yes, I did say it is an important movie to see, and it's a great movie, but it is just relentlessly emotionally draining. It has an absence of hope. It's an extreme, and it's a tough watch. So I just think more people should see Dope instead.
All right. Oh boy. All right. I'm ready. It looks like Coho's ready. Mark, where are you? You're writing. Never mind. It's funny. I didn't do it on purpose, but I saw a Florence Pugh movie today.
How dare you?
It was really good, though. Okay. I'm going first. This was interesting. I have not seen City of God. I've heard about it a lot. I've been told I should watch it. I have seen Dope, though I saw it in the theater 9 years ago. So I don't really remember all that much about it. It's been a long time. Based on the arguments, I went with Jacoby. I liked what Kirk was going for. But I thought that Jacoby did a really good job of playing against what Kirk was saying with, like, yeah, the movie is intense. That's why people should see it. They should be challenged. Like, I agree with those things, but I thought Jacoby kind of retextualized that by saying, like, when we're talking about coming of age films, like, Dope has like things in it that still challenge people, and it's different, and it's from the Black perspective, which makes it an interesting film other than the ones that Kirk brought up. And I like that Jacoby took what Kirk said of, like, I thought Kirk's closing when he started out was really strong, of like saying Jacoby just said people should see this movie, and I like what Jacoby said of like, I do think people should watch that movie, but when they're wanting to watch a coming of age movie, they should want to watch Dope more, like recontextualizing it in the coming of age sense. So I could be cuckoo. I've been cuckoo before in this debate. So let's go to Mark. What are your thoughts?
Coho's answer is going to matter. I did go with Kirk on this one. I got to be honest, when seeing this question, City of God was not a movie that came to mind, but it absolutely fits. And I really like Jacoby's pick of Dope. It's honestly maybe one that I would have, if I were in this match, I would consider using. I do think Kirk brought in a lot of good hits on Dope, and I think he came in honestly with a lot of examples of things that kind of Dope has taken from other coming of age movies, and how even though yes, it's in a little bit different presentation, it's still like many coming of age movies, and there just really isn't that many movies that are like City of God. And I think his bit on kind of a, this is something that should be seen by more people. It's like a good challenging film, and like I think that's a good hit. That was a good response to at least what Jacoby brought up on, like, yeah, but you're gonna probably alienate some people. Really close, but yeah, I sided with Kirk on this one.
Okay. Coho, are we going to a speed round, or is Kirk the winner?
This is why these two are as good as are probably, in my opinion, two of the very best to ever do it, if not like two of the top three. Like, they're so good at this that Kirk is able to find movies that don't necessarily come first to your mind and then make a really compelling case for it. And Jacoby is so good at taking what Kirk says and spinning it as support for his argument, not a knock. And I love this is like the textbook round for me for these two, because I think both fought really well. That being said, I hate Kirk, so I'm going with Jacoby. Jacoby, I think, did a really great job of yes-anding Kirk's. It's the same as everything. Being like, well, just because it fits into the genre better than yours and add something new, which I thought was a really cool way to kind of fight that fight. So,
all right. Well, that means we're going to the bonus round. I wouldn't expect anything less from these two. So here's how this is going to work. I randomized the categories I randomized the sides of Fanzone between Fandom and Mayzone, and I then randomized the categories remaining that weren't drafted in the prep round from the side that was randomized. A lot of randomizing. And then I wrote a question based on that category. So I'm going to say what the question is, and then I'm going to repeat the question. Once I've repeated the question for the second time, you will then be able to answer said question. Whoever answers their question first will be going first. You will have 45 seconds to open and then 30 seconds to close, back and forth, any questions from the players.
No.
Okay. This is going to be interesting.
Oh, God.
The side of Fanzone that was randomized was Fandom.
Oh, no.
And the category was James Bond.
God damn it. Okay. I mean,
and the question is, what is the best non-Daniel Craig James Bond film? Again, what is the best non-Daniel Craig James Bond film?
ooh.
I love you.
I think I'm gonna go with Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Okie dokie artichokes. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take out Mark. We're going to take out Caleb. I am going to stay on screen to give you guys your countdowns. Jacoby, you answered first with Tomorrow Never Dies, so you are going to go first with 45 seconds. Jacoby, 45 seconds is on the clock when you start talking.
I actually think Tomorrow Never Dies is a triumph of a James Bond film. I think it takes a lot of the kind of the seriousness of GoldenEye a little bit, but then also makes it a little goofy before Pierce Brosnan's movies go off the rail. It is a perfect mixture of those two things with a fantastic Bond girl performance with Michelle Yeoh, who matches Bond every sort of way. Bond is Pierce Brosnan has never been better than in this one, and it's such a timely, more relevant Bond than anything other Bond before that, because of the fact how journalism can manipulate the media and go through all that. The thing that is very timely 30 years later in the way that does that, which makes rewatching that movie even more great. The action set pieces are wonderful. The chemistry between Yeoh and Bond are fantastic. But like everything from like the car scene to the final submarine fight to the newsprint to Elliot Carver, Jonathan Pryce walking the line perfectly between hammy out over the top villain between like a very serious threat is wonderful to behold. It's the best James Bond.
Just best James Bond, striking from the record. Kirk, 45 seconds.
I think Tomorrow Never Dies is On Her Majesty's Secret Service is the best James Bond movie, non-Craig movie, because it does what everybody loves about Craig movies 40 years earlier. He has one of the best Bond girl ever in Diana Rigg, the Bond girl who is actually a person, a character with feelings and emotions, who develops a real relationship with Bond. You have Telly Savalas as the best Blofeld, probably the best Bond villain ever, the best version of that character. Just chewing up scenery, being a great villain. You have a great setting in the Alps with all like the ski and everything. It is just the best, most like you have all the fun, kind of wacky Bond stuff from that era, but it's also a lot more grounded and character driven and realistic, which what we love about Craig.
Time. Okay, Jacoby, 30 seconds.
I think On Her Majesty's Secret Service is a solid Bond film, but I think it does a lot that's distracting from it that makes it. I think it's very distracting that it's not Sean Connery in the role. The fact that you said, oh, it's doing things that Craig movies did 40 years later, but the problem is like those Craig movies did do them better, so I'm just like rewatching things that I would rather watch the Craig movies for. Tomorrow Never Dies is actually innovative. It's different. It's very timely for now. It blends the goofy and the serious much better than On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is just kind of fourth wall breaking winking, which is I just think something that Bond has never done again ever since that movie. And On Her Majesty's Secret Service ends with his wife being like horribly murdered, which we just don't do a whole lot anymore because that's not the essence of like the Bond character. Bond is style, Bond is substance, Bond is grit, Bond is everything, and all that is done in Tomorrow Never Dies with a great timely story that still works today.
Kirk, 30 seconds.
George Lazenby is a great stylish Bond and is a great replacement for Sean Connery. I think he brings the most heart and humanity to the character that Connery may not have. Jacoby says about all the news stuff being timely. All that news and journalism stuff is super dated when you go back and watch that now. Michelle Yeoh is great, but she outshines Bond. She's better. She makes Bond a secondary character in his own movie. And you also have, weighing her out, you have Terry Hatcher doing a really terrible, cheesy performance. The goofy stuff is not Bell and style. A lot of that submarine stuff is real goofy and real weird and bad for that era. And Jonathan Pryce, a weak villain, he's like an actor who all his life wanted to be a Bond villain and finally gets his chance and just does all the Bond villain stuff, but it's real basic and not that great.
All right. I'm gonna bring you in. We're gonna pause for 1 second. Unfortunately. Maggie just texted me, so I just got to answer that real quick. Okay. Oy vey. Mm. I guess I gotta pick someone, huh? Sorry, I'm just thinking. Okay. Coho, we are starting with you.
This was really hard. I think what it came down to for me was who can kind of give me a little bit more as to what's special and unique about their movie. And I think Jacoby gave me just a little bit more about why Tomorrow Never Dies is unique, and why I can get a lot of the things in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. There's a reason why it's just not done anymore. It's not good.
Sorry.
That's fine. We're good. You know,
Nick,
we're calm.
Nick just messaged me, and I was like, "Did I miss something?" He's watching live right now, so I was like, "Okay." Was I on the bottom row? Is that why? Nothing. No, stop getting distracted. Okay, I can't help it. I went with Kirk. I thought Jacoby did a good job bringing Tomorrow Never Dies. I think Tomorrow Never Dies is a really good movie. It's my favorite of the Brosnan era. I think GoldenEye is overrated as fuck. I do not like that movie as much as everyone else. But I think Tomorrow Never Dies is good. And I love On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So I think both picked movies I like a lot. Jacoby, again, the positives for both I enjoyed. Jacoby's argument against On Her Majesty's Secret Service of it being like, well, if the Craig things do it better, then I would just like, that didn't totally work for me. Because I thought Kirk countered that pretty well by saying, like, you know, Lazenby is still a great Bond, like an enjoyable Bond, and those set pieces and those moments are still great. And I thought that him taking Yao, who Jacoby had said is like great in the movie, which I agree, and him saying that she kind of overshadows Bond in his own movie was a good hit. I totally forgot Terry Hatcher's even in that thing. And he bringing up her cheesiness of the performance and how it is kind of dated. That worked for me. So it was really good. This was tough. Mark, it all comes down to, I don't think we've had a single clean sweep tonight. So this is nuts. This is kooky. Mark, your thoughts.
Yes.
Yes.
First of all, a very good match. This is kind of what we wanted out of it, or at least what the viewers, judges wanted to see, a good, hard-fought one. And yeah, I think it's somewhat fitting we got this as the final question, just because I think both competitors didn't really want this category, so we kind of had to see what we can get out of it, and I think we ultimately got a good one out of it. And ultimately, I think the person who I end up going with, I think they just said all the right things, and it was just kind of hard to vote against them, and that was Kirk. I think I think he's just said all the right things, at least pro On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I think he said all the right things, kind of anti Tomorrow Never Dies, kind of like I was hoping I'd hear a little bit of that, and I think he did a good job propping his up. it's good, and then also why just Tomorrow Never Dies is kind of dated and kind of goofier than you remember.
Yeah, absolutely. So that means your winner is Kirk Kowalkowski. We're gonna go to post-match interviews. Jacoby, hell of a match. This was insane. Like I just said, kooky, I believe is the word I used, but split decisions across the board on every question. And we still go to the final question where it's a split decision. It's just absolutely insane. Your thoughts about round 2 against Kirk here.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, it is fun. And kind of as you said, like listening to like why you guys graded those points, like when you gave Kirk the points that you did, like I agree with like why you gave him the points. I'm like, oh, that is an excellent point. I just think my arguments again, I think I came in with really strong points for mine. And I think just what I didn't just polish and work enough on is my knocks against his enough. So like I tried different things in some certain arguments and they didn't work out. And it is what it is. I am happy to have played Kirk and lost to him again, which I think it says 2 here, but I thought we've done it like 3 times. Have we not? And either like, I thought there was like, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe there's one I'm forgetting. But
either way, it doesn't matter. I lost to him, and I wish him the best of luck on his way to Brian. Bummed, but it's like it's nice because I guess if I went on to Brian, I put so much into like this one, and I was so stressed about it that I would have just also been stressed about it, like the next one too. And maybe I should take this as some sort of like a little bit of a blessing, and be like, yeah, you know what? Like I can enjoy November a little bit more because as I do, I love doing this, but I get very stressed by doing this. Anyways, congratulations to Kirk. Yeah, he put up a hell of a match. Like it was hard to fight him. So that was great.
Have you played Brian?
I have not. That's why I really wanted to win. Thanks, Kirk, for crushing those dreams. And thanks all you judges for crushing my dreams as well.
For some reason, I thought you played Brian this season, but I guess not. And I'm being told behind the scenes that this is the 3rd match. I don't remember when the other one was. It was the title match.
I don't remember any of the questions except for one about there was like a Ratatouille question, or not even a Ratatouille. It's like, which one would you want to have like be your friend during the pandemic or something? And
wow! So that was like before you played for the title or something like that.
Yeah. I think it was,
wow. Okay,
yeah,
so that's fair.
So
okay. That's probably why I don't remember it.
I don't remember any other questions, but I just remember like that. But anyways, yeah. So I've played him a lot, but yeah, hats off to Kirk.
That's awesome. Jacoby, thanks for being a good sport, and it was a great match. So you should be proud of yourself. We'll see you next season, I hope. Jacoby, thank you. I burped a little there, but thank you.
Respect you have for me. See how much respect you have for me. You burp while saying my name.
Yep, while saying your name, of course. I got to do that every time now. Kirk, you looked nervous there at the end. That was a great match. Like I said, both you and Jacoby played fantastic. It came down to the wire. It was split the whole time. If I know one thing about Kirk, it's that he's very passionate about the game and also very passionate about his arguments. And I thought you played really well today, both offense and defense. It showed. How are you feeling post-match here, man?
Yeah, that was, I mean, hats off to Jacoby. I mean, everything Mark said about him at the beginning of the match is absolutely true. I mean, his style, he brings out the best in me because you cannot sit back on your heels against Jacoby at all for a second. He's going to be bringing stuff at you. He's going to be throwing stuff at you, twists and turns the whole way. So you got to be ready. And I really had to, in the middle of that match, I realized I had to kind of change my game up. And, or I was going to get kind of the floor wiped with me. So kudos to him. And like I said, I wish him nothing but success moving forward from here. And I know he'll get back to this spot and he'll be in the title match at some point. But no, I'll also echo what Jacoby said. I feel like usually I feel really strong one way or the other about, where a match went after it's over. But all 4 of those are like, this go either way. And I don't, begrudge the judges voting either way, because I think all 4 were fought really well. And I think we both had we brought all 4. I think we just brought really different ideas to it that kind of like clashed and probably made it really hard for you guys because you had to kind of disassemble all that and, make something coherent out of it. But I think it was great. I think speed round was a tough one for me because I kind of had to wing it on Tomorrow Never Dies. I sit there Googling the movie, just trying to get some facts on it because I haven't seen that one in a while. But I think just hopefully because I really like On Her Majesty's Secret Service, my passion for that helped out a little bit. But yeah. Honestly, though, when Mark was holding his board back, there was a big part of me that was hoping it said Jacoby, just so, like Jacoby said, I could get a break because you're so drained when you're done with this. Now you're going to go play Brian. That's not a fun prospect at all.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. You're going on to the title match. It's been a year since you were there. You played Cody at the end of 2023 for the title. Lost 4-3. Then this year you made it to the contender match. This is your second contender match. Your first one was against Brian. He beat you 3-2, went on to win the title from Cody. And now you get the rematch. And it's for all the gold. How are we feeling?
I'm excited to play him. Brian's tough. I mean, we've established that he's hard to beat. I just want to have a good title match. I'm not happy with my performance in either of my last two title matches. So I just kind of want to bring it and make it competitive. If I can get the title back, great. At this point, I really don't feel like I have anything left to prove. So I don't need to have it. But I just want to go in. I had a pretty good showing against Brian. I took it down to the speed round our last match. Hopefully I can get somewhere in that area this time, and I'll be satisfied with that.
Awesome. Well, Kirk, I think it was a great match. Thank you for being a part of it. Let's get quick final thoughts, starting with Mr. Caleb Coho. Caleb.
This is one of the best debates I've judged, let me tell you. I think that Mark nailed it. Like, there's a reason this was split decision all the way through. It's because, like, Kirk was able to pivot. Jacoby's really creative at this. So good on Kirk. Hard fought win. I'm really excited to see him versus Brian. So,
Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah. Like I said before, it was good as a nail biter. It's I think a good match. I think it could have gone either way. I'll be looking forward to see what we get from Jacoby, and then kind of just I'm glad we're getting a rematch here from earlier this year for the title match for the end. Should be very good. Brian has only been playing quality opponents this entire year.
Yeah.
And now he has to probably face probably the best debater he has to at the end of the year.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's going to be a great one. We'll see you at the final act for that match. Brian Michaels versus Kirk Kowalkowski 2. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Jacoby and Kirk for playing. Thank you to Mark and Coho for judging. I have been Tim. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
There we go. Thank you very much. Please come again. We have a lot more groceries.